click that like and subscribe button and go sign up on superchargedstocks.com, and let's keep you notified.
Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew and Austin. Happy to have a bit of a checkup with Austin. I know he's got some updates about Gamestop, about the mining sector, some of the stocks that are moving. Let's just get right into it. Today is February 9th, 2021. Austin, tell me what's happening with GameStop.
Oh my God, the world is falling apart, isn't it? I do genuinely feel bad for the guys that got on this hype train when we started talking about it, because the thing has fallen through the floor. I mean, we had a massive fall off kind of throughout last week, and it's kind of continued through this week. It's down. I believe the stock's even sitting below $50 a share. It is. It's at $49.24 right now as we're talking. So it has been a tough ride. The guys on Reddit, the guys who follow this closely, will have told you to expect this, that this was going to happen. I don't know if they expected it to be this bad. I don't know if they expected the outlook to get this grim this quickly. But it's definitely, the joys of a volatile situation for sure. But yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks.
Well, it's a good example of the difference of when you get into these types of things, as well as what your investment strategy is, because I'm a fan of the whole idea of defending the company from the short attack. But if you didn't take any money off the table, then you were doing it for different reasons. And that's fine, because a lot of these guys are doing this for ideological reasons, not necessarily to make money. If people were jumping in to play the volatility, yeah, that's a different type of investment strategy. And that's not my kettle of fish. It's a lot of stress. That's a lot of volatility that stock went through. It has to pull back down eventually, because it's simply not worth $50. But when it comes down, who knows? It's going to be a battle, perhaps for a bit longer. To make these shorts kind of pay. But it's interesting to see the story develop, and it's been a great highlight to let people know that there is power in retail, that you do have a say in this. It isn't just completely, I won't use the word rigged, but completely manipulated without you. You do have a say in markets, because after all, the retail investor is the market. But where do you think it's going? I mean, we won't spend too much time on it, because it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of interest, and it's great because it's harnessing a lot of young people, getting them excited about the stock market in general. But hopefully it drives home, yes, there's an ideological play here, and you want to protect this company, but also, hey, there's no harm in investing in companies that you believe in, that are creating good products and have a future. So where do you think things are going in that space, in that realm, online? What are people saying?
So the traction that you see online is still a lot of people wanting to hold on to this, want to see what happens. There's a lot of speculation that they have to cover more shares by the end of the month, that there could be a little bit more action kind of as we get into the last week of February. So that's kind of the sentiment along kind of the really hardcore guys. I think a lot of the guys who kind of just screwed around with it were looking at it as something fun. I think they're probably out of it by now. Yeah. Or, maybe they've got 5 shares that they're holding on to because they just simply don't care. But, I think the way it goes from here is these guys who got interested and got involved, like you were mentioning, have to start finding other things to look at if they want to be interested in investing going forward, which I think a lot of guys do. I think a lot of people are waking up to the sort of like, hey, if I, throw my money into some boring mutual fund thing for a while and let it tick, it might make 5% in a year, might make 7%, something like that. People are realizing they can do a lot better returns on their own if they just spend a little time looking at different interesting stories, different sectors that they enjoy, and listening to intelligent people talk about those subjects. You can make informed decisions that way. So hopefully we see the new age of investors that got involved with this get interested in the stock market in general, and new exciting ways to make money, not just this kind of one-off meme craze that we got with GameStop.
No, and I mean, it was a solid idea behind it, but I love being able to harness this new group and kind of get them excited that, listen, if you believe in that, you don't get your video games unless you've got some interest in mining. And so I look to myself as being some sort of older guy educational conduit to express to them, listen, if you want your cell phone, you want your video games, you want any of that stuff, if you want your cryptocurrency, you're going to need a whole heck of a lot of mining. You're going to need a lot of copper. You're going to need some silver. You need some lithium. You're going to need some vanadium. You name it, we're going to need it. my hope and what's your thought here of garnering some of this attention and looking at people saying we've had this massive rise in crypto because people are starting to believe in the absurdity of printing money endlessly. And I mean, these governments are actively stating they're just going to keep on printing money, that somehow this will magically just keep on going on forever. With what do you call it? Elon putting what 1.5 billion into Bitcoin.
Yeah. And Tesla's going to use it for payments now going forward as well. They'll accept Bitcoin as a form of payment.
Yes. So this is good news. I like it, but at the same time, I still think as much of a place that these payment systems and fintech and a crypto of some kind, I still believe it's far too early. I don't want to be in that space. I see the same upside potential, but a heck of a lot more safer if you go straight to the source of how do you make a Bitcoin? You still need to mine. I don't mean NVIDIA mining or the new computer systems that they're all buying right now to mine more Bitcoin. It's an energy play. You need to be able to generate a ton of electricity, a ton of energy, and that means a ton of copper. So for me, I still want to own that commodity. It's down. It has a chance to swing high. Then lately, there's been a lot of news happening in the mining sector as well. So was there anything there that you've seen that you want to kind of highlight or talk about?
Well, as far as the mining sector goes, I mean, I've always kind of turned to you for the guidance in that department. One stock that I know you've talked about a lot recently, Goliath Resources, having a heck of a week already this week. They're looking really good.
Yes. So Goliath has been off as high as 70 cents today, or just slightly higher. So that's quite a run in the past 6 months. I mean, it was down as low as 14 cents, up at 70. Lots of good news. I mean, that's running off of some good thesis, ownership of 10% of the ownership by Crescat and Mr. Hennings coming on board as an advisor. But on top of that is a company that, and I mean, I've written about Goliath years ago. I've been a fan of this company for quite some time. I think I was the first newsletter writer to talk about them. It is also Juggernaut, which is, to some degree, you could say a sister company. It's part of the same syndicate. That stock has had a big run in the last even five days, going from as low as 23, 22, up to 36 cents here. Once again, on the same news, this Crescat getting involved, buying in 10% of the company because they see the data that Juggernaut has, what they're sitting on has massive potential. So I see this being a buildup going into drilling season that's going to be very exciting for both those companies.
So when should we kind of expect to start seeing that kind of drilling season start up? When can we expect some results out of these companies?
Yes, you're probably not going to see, I mean, I don't know for sure, and I haven't talked with the companies, but usually I would say around April, May-ish, they'll start getting out. They're putting together a plan. They probably have their whole plan set as to the dates. Weather will play a factor as well if we get a little bit better of a winter. I know spring is supposed to come early. They might get out a week or two early, but they know exactly where they're going. So the good news is they know exactly where they're going to be drilling. They know what they're targeting. They're going to get out and hit that as fast as possible. The actual drill results, once again, a tough answer. And I don't mean to be kind of riding the fence, but you've got so much activity up in that area and so many companies coming to the forefront, especially in that area, that once they all start drilling and they all send the results, I think there's 2 really major labs to send results to, they get backed up. They'll be anticipating that, but there'll be a lot of hype going into spring, summer. And once people start reminded of the story, they start paying attention to it again and they look and go, oh my gosh, look at the thing that they're looking at. Look at what the potential upside here, what they're drilling into. That takes on a life of its own even before the results come out. There's a curve of excitement that, at that point, you'll have to decide on your own, do I wait for the actual news to see what the actual results are, or do I go along the hype train and make a bit of a trade? There's 2 ways to play these stories, especially Goliath and Juggernaut. They're very tradable. So people who like to trade, these 2 are worth looking at. If you're a long-term investor, there's a reason why Crescat came into both of these. There's a long-term play here. So it's exciting. We're going to be watching it. We're going to be talking about it. I don't work with either company. I've done a lot of, analysis of them, but they're not a quote unquote client. But I'm a big fan of them. I know that they save every penny they can, especially Juggernaut. They put it right into the ground. It's going to be very exciting to see. I want there to be a win for both of them. That's my own, opinion that I want that win. But I also have to be careful to take a step back and go, just because I want the win, I have to think clearly and look at these stocks on their own. But yeah, definitely exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, it is easy to get excited about those kind of things, but you're absolutely right. You've got to be mindful about it. You got to think, okay, well, how do I properly analyze this? What's the best play here? And for yourself personally, what your investment strategy is going to be. How do I want to get myself into the market? And that's, tying back into the kind of new age of investor that's coming into the market now. Those guys have to be looking at themselves and saying, what am I able to put up? What am I interested in? What do I care about? And building up your portfolio based on that.
Yes, and I think it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, I'm hoping amongst hope that we can attract a lot of younger millennials and those interested into the mining sector. And I think there could be some crossover, especially if people they focus in on where am I getting this energy from. There's a little bit of talk about uranium on Wall Street Bets. They'll then focus on copper and look at companies like Copper Bank and look at copper plays and think, oh, I can get into these stocks for 30 cents, 35 cents. That's doable. I'm used to paying $40 for GameStop. 30 cents. Yeah, let's take a swing at it. That hopefully we can attract. But one sector that I know a little bit about it, but I'm really excited to be working with the Conscious Fund that's helping to educate me and by proxy helping to educate my followers and subscribers is this whole psychedelic sector. We've got a couple of events coming up. We've got a psychedelic summit on February 25th. That's coming up, and that's in partnership with Idea City, which is Moses Neimer in Toronto. It's a giant consumer TV and all of that. So that's going to be a really big event. That reach out to me. I'm going to have another video and have some contact details for people that want to go to that summit. But there's also a very interesting one by Microdose Psychedelic Insights, which I think and once again, I'm not an expert in the space, but this is a site that has everything you want to know about this space. It's really well done. It's curated very well, tons of information, tons of educational insight and analysis. Microdose is definitely a place that you need to be looking at. They're holding an ibogaine conference or a molecular masterclass specifically on ibogaine, which is a psychedelic as well. Yeah. And that's coming up on February 19th to 20th. So we'll have a link to that too. So for people to along with me, I'll be going to learn about these, to see the science behind them. These aren't retail stories. This isn't fun stuff. This is the science behind these drugs, repurposing them for human consumption to deal with PTSD, the blood-brain barrier issues that we have, delivering drugs, as well as addiction and anxiety, depression, all of these things that are plaguing us. And that, quite frankly, the model we have today doesn't seem to be working.
No, it doesn't. And even to kind of go in on a bit of a personal story, I won't use the guy's name, but a guy who used to live close to me suffered really badly from PTSD. He's an ex-army guy. Ended up going over to, I'm going to get the country wrong. It was Denmark or Sweden or something like that. And it was microdosing DMT therapy that he did that completely kind of not only changed his outlook on life, but helped him manage and master his PTSD that he'd been suffering with for the better part of a decade. So there's a lot of really cool medicinal effects and ideas behind that kind of stuff. And the science is really, really coming a long way even where we look at the space 5 years ago and what people's thoughts on it would have been, it's holy crap. There's really exciting stuff going on there with awesome upside for people to be able to use these kind of substances.
I look at it as a true value plus value growth play, because I would never have looked at this space a couple years ago. I mean, a lot of friends would look at me and go, "Oh my God, Andrew, we never thought you'd even look at this." But because I was luckily enticed with enough people in Vancouver to go, "Andrew, wait, just take out the weed smoking kid out of this. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about science." So I was open-minded enough to go, "Okay, if you're going to show me some science, I'll look at it." And it's amazing. And that's what's got me excited about this, is that science. And I'm glad you touched on DMT, because Algernon Pharmaceuticals, who we just spoke to again, they're entering the space too, because they are a drug repurposing company. And they're wise enough to say, listen, This is nothing else but that. All the psychedelic space is taking a drug we know a lot about, and mostly in movies and more of a, fictional stories and whatnot, and more the
or
fun
if you
side
listen to Joe Rogan.
or Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
over the years, yes, ayahuasca and ibogaine, Brian Rose, they've been talking about it, but this is bringing it now to the forefront of, listen, let's really focus on the actual science and a microdose. We're not talking about someone having a psychedelic experience. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, is there application to these drugs, these plants, that can have positive effects, and it's not about pleasure seeking. It's not about trying to make yourself just feel good or anything like that. And it's certainly not talking about just something you do on your home by yourself. This is rolling out intensive protocols and plans of treatment for people. And we're seeing these stories, and they're more than just one-offs. And it's especially with soldiers, with a lot of athletes that have had like severe concussions that certainly, they have a lot of depression. They're having really good, if not anecdotal, but curated cases and human data to explain some exceptional growth and changes in behavior and changes of viewing the world. So I'm excited about where all this can go. So here are these two events I'm definitely going to be attending. The one's on the 19th to the 20th with the ibogaine conference, the molecular masterclass, as well as the psychedelic on the 25th. Reach out to you or me or the website. We can send you links for tickets. But yeah, what a time to be alive.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited that we've got both these coming up this month. I'm going to be been joining for both of them as well. I think this is a really interesting and exciting space, and I'm really stoked that we've got this partnership with the Conscious Fund as well going forward.
Well, yeah, and that's such a key factor. I mean, having them to guide us along, to kind of tell us where we should be spending our energy and efforts and focusing on is huge, because it gets overwhelming to enter a new space and to think, where do I even begin? So to have them help us is such a key driver. And of course, I encourage people to go to their site, to reach out to me as well if you want to know more about them and how to invest with them, because really at the end of the day, if you're getting into this space and you're a bit more passive, they're certainly fun to look at. Yeah,
absolutely. Really exciting times ahead, I think.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Austin. Thanks for the check-in. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Hey, my pleasure. We'll chat soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Click that like and subscribe button and go sign up on superchargedstocks.com, and let's keep you notified.